Hey, dude. What? Hey, it's Rachelsey at the movies. Yay!
We went and saw the movie yesterday, which is about a guy who is a struggling musician. It's set in England. He's about to give up. He's like, you know what? I'm done.
He's chasing his dream, but he's hit so many brick walls in the face, and he's like, I give up on this. But then the unthinkable occurs.
Some kind of power surge happens across the entire earth. All the lights go out for 12 seconds and then come back on. And in that moment, he also gets into a wreck. He's hit by a bus while riding his bike, wakes up in the hospital, and then, he starts to heal, comes out, he's having lunch, and...
Basically, he wakes up in a world where some things
never
occurred.
The
biggest thing...
Or about the Beatles.
Yeah, nobody's ever heard of the Beatles. So their music never impacted society the way it did. There's several other funny things that happen as well.
Yeah.
But that's the main plot, and so he is like, hey, I can sing Beatles songs. I know that these songs are huge and hits.
Maybe my songs aren't good, but these songs...
And so it's about that. That's what it's about.
Yeah. So, Kelsey, go wait or skip.
Yeah, I like this movie a lot. I'm a huge Beatles fan, so I've actually had thought of this before as a plot of my own little fantasy. But yeah, I really like the movie. I thought that, especially if you love the Beatles music, then or if you love the Beatles, then I think this movie is perfect for you because this movie also loves the Beatles, and everybody in this movie loves the Beatles.
Yeah, I also want to point out that it's I feel like all the movie studios, the same idea was brought to them, which was, hey, make a movie inspired by music. Because we had the movie about Queen, we had the movie about Elton John, we had...
I don't understand. Yeah, but those are biographical movies.
Those were more biographical.
So why isn't there a movie about the Beatles? This was actually an interesting idea, I think, for a movie. I would like to see a movie about the Beatles in the way that they did the Elton John movie or the other movie that's actually tries to be biographical. Yeah, but this movie was not that. It was like a fiction, fantasy type thing. And go, wait, or skip. Did we do that? I said go already.
Yeah.
Hello, go.
I also say go just because I thought this was good music makes a movie better. And they had Beatles music all throughout it. So it was great. I also, from the trailers, I knew what the setup was, which is what we shared with you. And that he eventually sings Beatles songs, right? But that's all that I knew. And I felt like the movie really, I was like, where are they going to go? I had no idea what they were going to do with the movie. And I really liked that I was like, oh, I just don't know where they're going. And I thought they did a good job showing real people, except for the fame, but outside of that, it was real people and real situations. That's what it seemed like to me. Spoilers.
There's spoilers, yeah. There's spoilers, yeah. I thought you were going to join in with me. Yeah. Big spoiler in this movie is that Paul McCartney is not in this movie, nor is Ringo Starr. And I didn't really think so much of Ringo, except when they brought him up in the movie. But I was like, oh, he's going to go visit Paul McCartney, to make it real for us. Right? At the end of the movie, he does go visit Beatle, but it's John Lennon, who I guess, obviously, if he was never a Beatle...
alternate reality.
Then he didn't get killed by the crazy fan or whatever. And he goes and visits John and then get an actor. And the actor does a good job, I think, blah, blah, blah. But I was like, why wouldn't they just get Paul McCartney, who...
I thought maybe Paul and Ringo both said no.
Well, I get why they didn't get Ringo, but it would have to be John or Paul. Because John Lennon and Paul McCartney are the ones that wrote all the songs.
Most of the songs,
The vast majority of the Beatles songs were Lennon and McCartney. So, I didn't... so he's not in that movie, and I was kind of sad by it. But at the end, they do play Hey Jude, which is a Paul McCartney song.
I think that it might have been better because it's almost like the real Paul McCartney might have stolen the limelight from what was in the rest of the movie. Although it would have been
I'm also a big Paul McCartney fan, so it might just be my whole I love Paul McCartney. Why was he in this movie?
In the movie, so it wasn't just the Beatles. There were other things that also didn't exist that he found out, and it was a really great reoccurring comedic element throughout the movie. So we already told you spoilers. So.
Oasis. It? And then he was like, okay, that makes sense. Because the Beatles didn't exist. Then
right.
Oasis.
How could they exist? Coca-Cola.
Harry Potter.
Cigarettes.
Coca-Cola.
Somehow cigarettes never existed. So he has to drink Pepsi. I mean, if you like Pepsi,
Or
sorry.
he gets to drink Pepsi Max, which is my favorite Pepsi product. We're not sponsored by Pepsi, but we would be. If you want to sponsor us.
No, I couldn't do that.
I will do it.
It's just
I will do it. We will get.
Toxic
We will put
sugar.
water in that Pepsi can, and Rachel will drink it down for that money.
No way.
Yeah, $1 million. What? $1 million. They're like, they got 6 views.
But the movie really kept me interested because it was about this struggling musician, and like in the beginning, like it really, from the beginning to the end, I thought like he had a really great character arc in that he really learned maybe not just like I could in a cliche say what's really most important in life, but it wasn't just that, because him being a musician could have been like what it was meant for him to be, like a famous like musician. But at the end of the movie, it seemed like what was maybe meant for him to be, first of all, in his alternate reality, was to bring the music of the Beatles back to the world again. And then secondly, to find, like, the girl that he loves, have a family. He ends up going, like, being a teacher, like, teaching music, and he seemed legitimately happy.
Yeah,
You know?
I thought at the beginning of the movie, when it started, I was like, okay, the only way that this movie can go is this. He does this alternate reality happens, he does the Beatles, but he finds out that really what he wants in life is that girl who pretty clearly...
Right, so he chases a dream the whole time.
Because that's the most... But I thought he would wake up or something, and like, that would all have been a dream. But at the end of the movie, he's just living in this alternate reality where where the Beatles were just gone, I guess.
And he said no to all the fame, essentially, because what he ends up doing... makes it where he's not like the same famous musician anymore. So like when he goes and talks to John Lennon, and who tells him what? He tells him, I forget the first thing, but the second thing was always tell the truth. And so essentially, he felt like he was living a lie because everybody thought he was writing all this amazing music. And he couldn't tell them. I mean, they didn't know the Beatles existed, so I didn't even like think of it really as being like an issue in morality or ethics or anything, but like he still felt like a fraud even if nobody else in the world knew the Beatles existed, you know? And so he ends up telling the truth, but like on the biggest stage possible. And then also that's when he says yes to the like person, the woman that he loves. And it's after years, right?
I think I'm ready to get down to brass tacks though. Can we get down to brass tacks, Rachel?
What is that?
Is there a bigger Beatles fan that you've ever met than me?
No.
Okay. Well, here's the thing about the Beatles. It's not just the songs themselves, right? Like in the movie, he just like makes all these songs and they put it all in this one big album. But I think the majesty of the Beatles is every single album in it by itself, right? Like you think about Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. That's like it was art, and also the sound of that album. And you compare it to, compare it to the White Album, which came out the very next year, completely different sound, completely different kind of music. Every single, within that short period of time, what they were able to accomplish is just absolutely amazing. Has never been done, at least in popular rock music, and I don't think will ever be done again. That they could move through all those different sounds and still be the best band in the world for as long as they were. And if you think about it today, like when was that? That was in the 1960s, right? Their last album they recorded was in 1969. Their last album came out in 1970. That's so long ago, and they're still hugely popular. They were making this movie about it.
Yeah.
So in the movie, I still feel robbed for the people in that universe. You didn't get the albums. You didn't get the movies like Magical Mystery Tour or Hard Day's Night or any of that stuff. You got some semblances of it with the rooftop concert at the end that he did.
Yeah, but he put songs together in albums that weren't together
Not
in
the
the
same
original
thing.
albums.
So I'm glad we live in this universe where we had the real Beatles, and all of the Beatles brought a different thing to the table. That's what made them so great, was not just John Lennon or Paul McCartney or any single Beatle, but together there's something magical about them. And if you put like two of the greatest songwriters by themselves, John Lennon and Paul McCartney, together, and then George Harrison, who's also a very good songwriter, and Ringo, who just everybody just loved and was a great drummer, like that's something that like was just made the Beatles amazing.
Yes, I agree.
I love the Beatles.
Kelsey does. So it was neat to watch this movie with Kelsey. It was neat to hear all the music. I sat through all the credits just to listen to the entirety of Hey Jude.
This is my favorite song.
Yeah, the only other thing I said is I thought like they did a good job representing real life in the movie. Here's like his friend slash manager, and she's a teacher. She loves him, and you don't find this out till later. You're like, well, maybe they're just good friends. But he, right before he leaves to go to LA, she like tells him, and I almost wanted to yell out, like, kiss her. Like, you can still go to LA, but at least, like, kiss her, and he doesn't. Like, he just he's so, like, full of angst, and then he leaves. And then it goes on for years, right? And she tries to find somebody else, but, like, she still loves this guy, and poor Gavin. Yeah, like, but he was so caught up in, like, his career and this dream that he had decided that he couldn't see, like, maybe some of the other things in life.
The more important things are.
Well, whatever is meant to be for you.
That's what the Beatles taught us, guys.
Is what's most important. You sometimes you don't know that. So like I thought what was most important in my life was going to be like having kids and maybe lots of kids. It's not like intended for me. It's what it seems like ultimately. So it's like doing like what is like your path in life, because when you do that, that's when you're gonna have peace. If you keep like bumping up against like walls and trying to force something that isn't gonna work, I don't know.
I would think always put people over things. A career is a thing, music is a thing, art is a thing, anything is a thing. But people are infinitely more important because I think people are the most important thing.
It just depends, like, how you think about that. Like, so
not codependently.
I'm really codependent, so I put people above things like a good chunk of my life, and above myself and above God. So, like, I think you just have to be careful.
She was the right people.
But my point was that this was like real life because it took years, and it wasn't like this quick, like, oh, she said I love you, and then he's like, I do love you, and then it happened. No, like. He kind of rejected her, and she had to live with that. And then, but they ultimately like end up like back together. She loved him long before he ever even thought that she was an option. You know what I mean? Like he thought they were like brother sister more than anything else, and it changed. So I just thought that was more like real life. That real life isn't like sometimes these big moments. Sometimes it's more ordinary. And I thought this movie did a good job showing the ordinary in life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's get back to the most important thing, though, Rachel. Who's your favorite Beatle?
It's always been George.
George Harrison? Why is that?
I don't know. I just did.
Do you like his songs or his voice?
Yeah, I think like...
Do you like his personality? Do you like him the way he looks, Rachel?
John Lennon always seemed a little like too much to me, like intense and abrasive sometimes.
My favorite Beatle when I was younger was John Lennon. Mm-hmm. But then I realized that my favorite Beatle was probably John Lennon just because that's like...
the cool thing.
Like, I thought Anyway, my favorite Beatle easily is Paul McCartney. It's always the thing. Because I was noticing, I was like, oh, I like all the Paul McCartney songs the most. And then I learned that Paul McCartney is the reason like things like Sgt. Pepper's album exists, Magical Mystery Tour exists. He's the person who came up with the idea in Abbey Road where the second half of the album, it all runs together into one big song. So I was like, oh, I think I like Paul McCartney more.
Do you think that if you woke up and the Beatles had never existed, would you be able to, from memory, write all their songs?
Yeah, easy. In fact, I was like, dude, I could sing this song right. He had trouble remembering lyrics.
Eleanor Rigby.
And I was like, dude, I could sing that right now to you. We can do it right now.
Like, it took the whole movie for him to remember the lyrics to Eleanor Rigby.
Yeah, definitely. It would be pretty easy.
I so love that scene, though, when he was trying to figure out the lyrics, because it talks about her and her wedding. And at the end of the movie, what you notice is that image is who ends up being his wife. So they use that image when he was thinking about writing Eleanor Rigby. It's the same girl.
I really like the song. I really like the movie a lot.
Yeah.
But not as much as I love the Beatles. Okay? Don't make a Beatles movie that sucks, because I'll be mad. I'll be mad at you, and I'll be mad at everyone. Hey, thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe to Rachelsey the Movies. We appreciate it. We love you, and we want you to come back for more. Yay!
We won't be mad, though, when you like,
Wait,
comment,
I'm not
subscribe.
done. What's your favorite Beatles album?
Well, it's going to turn off.
Come on, do it.
It may have already turned off.
Do it. You had already said it. We could have moved on.
I don't know. I don't like picking favorites. Rubber
Thank-
Soul.
I don't want to talk about it anymore. You've turned on me. Go ahead and do the finish thing.